Alright, so this section is just to cover the goggles that are supported and which modes. And it wasn't clear from the spreadsheet. Basically, these are the only 4 goggles that are supported by the 04 air units. So you have the goggles 2, the goggles Integra, the goggles 3, and the goggles N3. So for race mode, only the goggles 3 and the goggles N3 will be supported, and it's because that's the full 04 modes. The goggles 2 and the Integra are being supported by the 04 in basically that 03 compatibility mode, and as far as I'm told, there will be no race mode in these goggles. Furthermore, the original V1 goggles and the V2 goggles, from like many years ago, so I think they've been discontinued for at least 2 or 3 years now. Also, those are not supported on the 04 air units. So for, I guess, the most versatility, the Integra and the goggles 2 is probably the one that's going to be the most supported across all of the existing air units. So the Integra and the goggles 2 will work with the original FPV air unit, the Vista, the 03, and the 04, as well as a bunch of other, like the camera drones as well. These 2 goggles have the most support for the most air units and devices out there. Obviously, going forward, I believe the goggles 3 and the N3 are the only goggles that are going to be in production, at least going to 2025. The Integra and the goggles 3, as far as I know, are out of production. Basically, still supported, of course, not end of life like the goggles V1 and V2. But as far as I know, these are being discontinued, and these are the ones that you get going forward. So my advice to you is, if you're already on the goggles 3 or Integra, probably just stick with those, and the 04 compatibility mode, 03 compatibility mode is probably going to be fine for most of you guys. If you're happy with 03, you'll be happy with 04 on, even though it's got the higher latency. Obviously, you won't get the race mode, so if you want the race mode, if that's really important to you, then the only choice you have is to upgrade to these 2 goggles. And in that case, I would recommend just going to the goggles 3. Of course, it's more expensive, but that has the 100 hertz display, so you get the full lowest latency at 15 milliseconds for the race modes, whereas you're not going to get that on the N3, even though it is half the price. So hopefully that clears up what's supported and what's not supported, and what kind of choices you should make. I would say that if you're on the V2 goggles and you're happy with those, but you want to run 04, which you won't be able to on the V2 goggles, I would just keep those goggles for compatibility with like the older air units, and then upgrade to one of these 2, the goggles 3, the N3, if you want to get the 04 features. And again, if you want the race mode specifically, I would suggest getting the more expensive goggles 3 for the 15 milliseconds fixed latency. Now, if you're wondering if there's another newer goggle coming out later on in 2025, I'm not told that there's anything newer coming out. So as far as I know, now that 04 is out, it should be out for at least 2 more years, like 03 was out. So the expectation is with 03 was out for about 2 years, and then 04 came out. So I expect 04 to be out for about 2 more years. And so 2025 and 2026. Probably what's going to happen is sometime in 2026, like the Avata 3 is probably going to come out with the next generation of the OcuSync system, which will obviously be called 05, whatever that is. Obviously, no one knows what that is yet. And I expect that to come out again, like sometime in 2026, like the Avata 2 did. And then the Avata 3 will be out for a little while. And then they'll come out with the 05 air units. Probably at that point, and 2026 is when they're going to come out with a new goggle, if they do, with the OcuSync 5 system. So that'll be, I guess, the goggles 4. Kind of like the numbers are a little bit off. So that would probably, so if you're wondering if you need to get new goggles or wait, I would not expect another new goggle to come out for at least a year to a year and a half. That's my expectation based on what has happened in the past with the Avata 1 and the Avata 2. They're probably going to follow a similar path. They might deviate from that. Obviously there's no guarantees. it's possible they may not come out with an OcuSync 5 system for a while, because 04 is already really, really good. So it's like, how much better could 05 be whenever that comes out? For those of you like, just wait, and feel free to just keep waiting, and just don't complain that it's going to take 2 or 3 years before that next system or next goggle comes out. And these are the ones that are out right now, and these are the ones that are available to you. So I can only tell you what I know. Obviously, there are probably people that know better than me in terms of what's going to come out this year from DJI. I'm only telling you what they've told me, and as far as I know, there is no new goggle coming out. This is going to be it for 2025.